right, thank you all for coming out for our Career Passport lecture series today. We'd like to introduce Ryan and Ashleigh Di Lello, who are Latin ballroom champions, known for their guest performances on the ABC's Dancing with the Stars and being the first married couple to be voted all the way to the finale of the hit Fox television shows So You Think You Can Dance. They were the stars of the Broadway show Burn the Floor, and Ryan is the current pro and season 3 champion of the Latin version of Dancing with the Stars. Ryan and Ashleigh have also choreographed and performed on programs such as the Ellen DeGeneres Show, Drop Dead Diva, and Bones, and they recently choreographed and appeared in the Hollywood movie What to Expect When You're Expecting with Cameron Diaz. Ashleigh and Ryan have also taught and performed ballroom dance in more than 38 countries around the world and feel blessed to share their talent together as a married couple. Ryan and Ashleigh are also expecting their first baby this weekend, so we are especially grateful for them to be with us today. Please welcome Ryan and Ashleigh Di Lello.
Thank you. Mic working? Yeah? Great. So maybe we'll make history and have the baby in a presentation. I don't know. Yeah, just keep us posted, honey. I'm sure she will.
She'll know.
Yeah, I think we'll know. So we are excited to talk to you guys today about our career and where we've been, how we've arrived where we are. And everyone's different. Everyone has a different life path. So today we're excited to just share our story with you and answer specific questions that you might have about us and where we found success and how we found success. So success, what is success? Yep, in just a moment. So the traditional definition of success is the attainment of wealth, position, honors, or the like. But we define success as finding something you're passionate about. We've found that in our life. So what I'd like to do is just share a video real quick that kind of gives you a little more background of what Ashleigh and I have done and where we've been. Oh, sorry. Okay, we'll start it over.
Right there. Right.
Put your hands together for Ashleigh and Ryan.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely not moving like that right now.
Oh,
This experience means so much to me because I was out of dance for.
There we go.
we're going to learn how to
A
use
little more
technology.
insight into our life.
Okay, so I'm going to turn over to Ashleigh, and she's going to talk a little bit about how we arrived where we did, because we didn't start out with what you just saw, right? We had a very interesting journey. So.
This is one of my favorite quotes. At its best, life is completely unpredictable, because I think any one of us can probably testify of that, right? You make plans, and you never know where life will lead you. It can change day to day. How do I go to the next slide, like this? So like Ryan said, we want to talk a little bit about our journey. We did not plan on dancing as a career. Which is interesting, because if you were to look at us and that we married each other, people think that was our career path plan. We were both attended BYU. I studied political science and history, and Ryan studied business and PR, and that was where we thought we were going to go. Even though we had danced our entire lives, and while we were still at BYU, we were still competing and training and continuing to pursue our passion in dance, but we were also pursuing our other passions, which were also educational aspirations. So it's interesting, because for us, it has been unpredictable. It wasn't exactly where we thought we were going to end up, but as we took this direction, it was exactly where we realized we were supposed to be. So it is unpredictable, and as you pursue your passions, you never quite know where you will go. So what happened with us, we graduated. I was starting to go back to graduate school, and then we had an opportunity given to us to go and travel and do what we loved for 2 years, and we thought, let's do this. We're pretty much going to be paid to be on a honeymoon for 2 years and do what we love, so let's do that. He was able to put a job aside for when we returned, so we went and traveled for 2 years, came back. I was about to take the GRE. Ryan started working for a Mass Mutual Financial Group, and it just didn't feel right for us. We thought we have this thing we love to do, and for us it's a limited time window that you can do it at a professional level physically. So we were like, this just doesn't feel right. We feel like we're supposed to keep doing what we love, what our passion is. And someone said, well, So You Think You Can Dance is holding auditions here in Salt Lake City next week. And we thought, why not? Let's go do it. And that leads me to the next quote, which is, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Because really, one decision, you never know how that will affect. And us making that decision to go and audition changed the path and course of our life for the last 4.5 years. When we went and auditioned, and it's a long process, and that's a whole story in and of itself, it felt like that's where we were supposed to be. And as we journeyed onto the show and made connections and followed our passion and pursued it, we knew that regardless of what we had decided to do, we were doing what we were supposed to do. And it's funny, because when we dated, I used to always say to Ryan, won't it be great, like, when we go to a wedding or we go on a cruise someday, we'll be able to dance together, and that was kind of the extent of which I thought we would be able to use our talents together. We'd be that old couple out on the floor, like cha-chaing, and sweating and having fun. Never did I realize that how deep our passion was for something and how it would lead us on this course. So that's what led us to So You Think You Can Dance, and you heard some of what followed afterwards. That took us on a course to Broadway, to film and TV in LA, to now being in over 40 countries all over the world where we've performed and taught. So today often is the first day of the rest of your life, depending on the decisions you make. And sometimes they are decisions that make you step out of your comfort zone a little bit and go bold and be daring, because you never know where that decision will lead you next. Yeah?
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you have a mic.
I have a mic, that's right. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so as Ashleigh mentioned, we kind of took a break from dance, or tried to kind of like have a real job. Like for us, like we thought dance wasn't a real job for us, but it was just this thing that allowed us to travel the world, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And we got paid to do it. It was great, but after 2 years of traveling the world, we came home to Utah. We started looking for a house, and I started working for Mass Mutual Financial Group, and to start my financial services career. And every day, it's really funny, because if you ask her, she'll explain what it looked like every morning when I was walking down the steps to my car, and it was like my shoulders were hunched over, my head was down, And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go sit in traffic, and I'm gonna go sit at this desk all day doing something that I wasn't passionate about. And for some people, I have a friend who loves financial services. He's so passionate about it, and he's so good at it because he is passionate about it. For me, I realized it wasn't for me, right? It wasn't something I was passionate about, and I hated my job. I absolutely hated it. In fact, 87% of Americans hate what they do for a living. 87%. That's sad. It's really sad. 50% are not fulfilled by what they do. 41% live paycheck to paycheck. And 70% are not motivated by what they do. That's the reason why Ashleigh and I define success as finding something you're passionate about. And everybody has a different journey. You have to go through different experiences, and a lot of times, if you come to school, you go to college, and you think, okay, I know what I'm going to do. This is going to be my major. But how many times does your major change? Right? For me, it changed like at least three times, right? Because I was trying to decide. You have to try. You have to try different things. You have to try different classes. And to be honest, some of us won't find what we're really passionate about for maybe 10 years after you finish college. But I think that's okay, as long as you're pursuing your passion and you're looking for that. It might happen quickly, it might happen later, but the key is to not stop looking for something you're really passionate about, and maybe there's different steps and journey. Your journey is different along the way. But don't give up in searching for what you are passionate about. And so, like Ashleigh said, the difference between sitting at my desk job doing financial services, and then when I was the very first week that I came out onto that stage on So You Think You Can Dance, and I'm like, okay, 10 million people are about to watch what I'm going to do, and the lights are on, and the audience, there's a live audience, and they're cheering, and I actually thought of my desk job, right at that moment when I'm about to go dance. I thought of my desk job, and I thought, this is where I'm supposed to be, right? It's just that feeling like, this is my passion, and I'm pursuing my passion. And it was such a contrast. And although it might not be you being on stage in front of millions of people, but it might be you switch to a job or to something, a career, and then it just clicks, right? It just feels good. It feels like that's what you're supposed to be doing. So that's really what we want to portray and share with you today, is to look for that, to search for that. So how do you find your passion? Right? Ask yourself questions, right?
I always tell Ryan, people we've talked with, I say, ask yourself literally, what would get me excited every day if I think of doing it 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week? What motivates me? What actually would get me excited to get out of bed? And that's an important question to ask yourself, right? Because we saw those statistics, people don't feel that way about their job. And it might take time, but that's an important thing to really evaluate. What gets me excited about? Even in school, what subject do I like to talk about? What class do I like to study? What do I, as much as you can, look forward to studying, right? Those are questions you really have to look and evaluate yourself, because sometimes we just get on this path of, we're already here, okay, I've already taken this many classes in this, I'm just, this is what my parents said, this is the path. When you really have to take time and evaluate, what do you enjoy studying, doing? What gets you excited to do every day? Because for most people, it will be that every day the rest of their life. So you want something, otherwise that sounds like a long life to me, right? If it's 87% people hate what they do, right? For the next 40, 50 years, I'm going to hate what I do 8 to 10 hours a day. That doesn't sound like a very fulfilling life, right? So those are questions you want to ask yourself.
Mm-hmm. Observe others, and specifically people who love what they do. So look for people who love what they do and ask them questions. Find out what it is they do and how they got there, and just talk to people, specifically people who they really look like they love what they do. And don't be afraid to approach people. You really look like you love what you do. Can I just ask you a few questions? I'm trying to figure out what I want to do in life, what I want to focus on. And I promise they'll be like, yeah, everyone likes to talk about what they're passionate about, right? So they'll be happy to do that. Try new things, right? just get out of your comfort zone, right? Sometimes we tend to put up this box and these walls that is like our comfort place, right? Go to new events, just go to different things that you hear about, because you never know, maybe that's where you find that spark, right? That passion and that opportunity, all right, to be involved in something and that you can run with, right? Anything to add to that? Okay, let's talk about how to succeed. Once you find something you're passionate about and you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing, this is what I want to work on, this is what I want to focus on.
The light keeps going down your face. I'm just letting you know.
Okay, thanks.
There you go.
Thank you. So, couple of things. 2 main points. There's so many, that answer or that question is kind of a loaded question. How do you succeed, right? But 2 things that we want to talk about. First is networking. It really is important no matter what you do, no matter what you choose to go into, networking and making relationships, establishing relationships. And networking is about establishing relationships with people. Sincere, genuine relationships. And one of the best ways that we've found to create those relationships is through questions, right? So let me have a volunteer. I want to actually make this more interactive, participative. Anybody?
We're not scary. Come on. Okay.
Okay, come on up. Okay. So I already know him, but I'm going to pretend like I don't. So, hey, what's your name?
I'm Justin. How are you?
I'm Ryan. Nice to meet you. Hey, Justin, if I could ask you, what are you most passionate about in your life right now? Like, what keeps you up at night? What are you excited about?
What keeps me up at night? Usually Family Guy.
Okay, cool, family, awesome. So
Family Guy, the show.
Oh, the show. I was going to ask him about his family. Cool, Family Guy. Okay, so what do you like about that show?
Well, it's just pretty funny, but it's a little crude maybe.
That's okay. I mean,
but it's on late at night, so that's what keeps me up at night.
Okay, cool.
But as far as passions go,
Yeah.
I am actually into aviation quite a bit.
Aviation,
Yeah.
awesome. What got you excited about aviation?
It's a passion that I've always had since I was a little kid. And it's something I really wish I would have pursued because my brother's an airline pilot. And
Oh, wow.
really wish I would have went down that track.
What airline does your brother fly for?
SkyWest.
SkyWest, awesome, awesome. So what was the moment that got you excited about aviation when you were a kid? You say, was there
I think just watching the planes fly over. I grew up in Nevada in a little small town that's near where a lot of jets are always flying by and practicing dogfights and things like that. And so that was kind of like the wake-up call in the mornings. I'd go outside and I'd see these planes like chasing each other around. And
Awesome.
so ever since then, I've always just kind of wanted to do it. And I pursued it a little bit, like in high school a little bit. But I think the financial part of it kind of made it seem kind of tough to get into.
Right, yeah, it's a hard industry.
Yeah.
So do you have a specific plane that you like? Do you have one that kind of like your favorite plane or your favorite model?
There's a lot of planes I like, anything from fighter planes to airliners. It just depends. It's too many categories.
Awesome, awesome. If you could do airline or fighter pilot, what would you choose? What would be?
It's more practical would be airline.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm too old for the Air Force.
Awesome. How old are you?
33.
33. Hey, I'm 33 too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. How old, and your brother, how old is he?
He's 34.
Awesome. Okay, so just a year behind him. You could catch up to him, right?
Yeah, definitely good.
That's awesome. All right. Well, nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you.
All
as
right.
well.
Well, let's keep in touch. And if there's any way that I can help you, I'm going to keep my eyes open, my ears open to see if there's any ways that any people that I know in the industry, and I'll connect you with them.
Great.
Sound good?
That'd be very helpful.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Great. Nice to meet you. Okay. So if I had never met him before, how well do you think I know him just from that conversation?
You already know about my passion.
I know about his passion. I know what he thinks about. I know where he's got a brother who's 34, who's an airline pilot. I know he's from Nevada, small town in Nevada. I know a little bit about his childhood, right? He grew up, watching planes fly overhead. So what I'm saying is that I asked questions that I had the genuine, sincere desire to know the answer to, right? And people like to talk about what's important to them. And it really stands out. In our industry, in the entertainment industry,
People love to talk about themselves.
people love to talk about themselves. But I have to be honest, there's not a lot of sincere, genuine, there's a lot of just kind of egos and people are like looking at how they can advance their career. And so one thing that Ashleigh and I saw as we were just genuine with people and we genuinely wanted to get to know them and just asked what was important to them in their life, it was like they just opened up to us and they wanted it just our relationships. We created relationships. We created deeper relationships besides just like, oh, so what project, what's the next project that, is happening, I'm available, I'd love to, work, with you, right? So it's just like, it's kind of more just about me, and just kind of like, how can I further my career? Whereas, tell me about yourself. And you just start talking, and you start to find out about them as a person, and they feel like you genuinely care about them. So from that, Ashleigh and I, a lot of the jobs that we've done have been direct book, where we don't even have to audition for something, because the people just know that we are real, we're down to earth, and they like working with us, and we like working with them, and we care about them as people, and it really will go a long way in whatever career you're looking at, whatever job, whatever passion you want to pursue. Just be genuine and ask questions to get to know people, and people will feel like, oh, this person actually cares about me, right, and what's important to me, not just about moving up the ladder or advancing in their career, right?
Yeah, it's being engaged. Like I always say, there's so many talented people with what we do, and in any industry, right? There's a lot of people in the job market today, right? It's overly saturated, right? And on paper, you might look the same as somebody else, right? Just as on paper, our accomplishments might match up directly with somebody else, but the connections you make with people, that networking, those are lasting. It's incredible because my sister's husband just got accepted to medical school at the University of Utah. And being from Utah, that's really hard to get into the University of Utah. And they actually separate the interview, and those people don't even get to see the MCAT scores because they want the interview to not be affected whatsoever. And they talked about how incredible, he's a very smart guy and did great, but the interview, his engagement, his sincerity, that sealed the deal for him, like regardless, because they wanted him in their school. So those connections, those networking are so important, more than you even realize. And years down the road, just a person that you might have thought wasn't very important at the time, you never know where that person ends up, who they know, who they connect you with. That's one of the main reasons we were also able to leave LA and live here and just fly back and forth as we need to for work, because we have those connections, that networking, that we actually don't need to be there physically anymore. So be genuine, be real, create friendships and networks, because you never know where that will lead you.
Next point, yeah, Justin.
Before you move on. So I've known Ryan for a long time, so I've known that he's always been the same kind of guy.
Yes.
Which is very personable.
Should I
Very friendly.
There you go.
Sorry.
I got
Go
it.
ahead.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying that I've
Switch.
known Ryan for several years, and he's always been very outgoing, very personable kind of a guy. And I'm just kind of curious with talking about like being genuine and things like that. I know that Ryan has always been like that. I know that sometimes being like that is kind of catchy. Other people kind of, like you're saying, I think it's more of like the light that you guys radiate that they like about you. But before you guys were like somebody, would you say like do you run into other people, like other maybe famous people that care about who you are actually as individuals? Would you say it was like that before, like you guys became a little bit famous, or is it more like that after so?
It depends on the person, I would say. And because in any industry, any career, you're going to find people that care about the little guy or don't, right? There's egos and pride in every industry, right? So I think in some ways, of course, it was affected by our accomplishments in the industry for some people. Absolutely. Would you?
Yeah,
Other ways, no?
I think you need to be true to who you are, and I think we all need to improve on certain areas. So if I think a lot of people who become very successful, if they're genuine, down to earth, honest people, I think two things can happen. They can stay that way, or actually they can let success change them, which is sad, which we have seen actually with some of our close friends. And you see, so Dwayne Wade and Cameron Diaz were in the scene that we worked on in What to Expect When You're Expecting. Both of those people were the nicest people you've ever met in your life. Cameron Diaz was just like, hey, I'm Cameron, I'm, a California girl, I grew up on the beach, just ask questions, where are you from? Utah, that's awesome, skiing. Like, she was asking me questions, like, and it wasn't like, I'm Cameron Diaz, right? And it was like, she was who she was. And I think she was always that way, and I think she didn't let success change that about her. Same with Dwayne Wade. Huh?
That's good to hear, because I work with a lot of famous people every once in a while, and it's interesting to see the different types of people. So the ones that actually make the time to try to remember your name, remember my name, that is. Yeah. And the ones that don't. So it's just interesting. So I was just kind of curious to see how it would be, I guess, in more of your type of folks. My field's more like the sports industry.
Yeah. I think it's the same. I think there's egos anywhere you go. And that's not just in entertainment or sports, right? In
any career.
With any career. And but I think what you said, when you're genuine and you really care about people, I think it's contagious. Mm-hmm. And whether people are that way or whether they're not, they're going to like you and want to be around you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you are that way.
And it stays with them, especially if it is something more rare, right? Yeah. It is a lasting impression, regardless, that they'll remember later on.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And if any of you have questions at any moment, you just stop us and we'll bring the microphone
I'll make
over.
Ryan do it.
Thank you, Sherry. So the second point, so really simple, be genuine, establish real relationships with people. Second point is go to work, right? No one's going to make it happen but you. Whatever it is, whatever you decide to do, you've got to make it happen. You've got to work. So I love this quote by Thomas Edison. The reason a lot of people do not recognize opportunity is because it usually goes around wearing overalls looking like hard work, right? Anything you do in life in order to be successful, it takes hard work. And there's no secret to it, right? For dance, when we work with our students, we teach right now. We actually teach here at UVU, and we have a private dance studio where we teach private lessons, but we also are personal trainers. We're passionate about fitness, right? So for us, we want to do what we're passionate about, so we do those two things. But with dance students and with clients, we tell them, listen, there's no secret. You just have to put in the sweat equity. You have to work. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the effort, right? You have to practice, right? If you're dancing, if you're trying to change your body and get into shape, you have to put in the time with the workouts, right? You have to be diligent about your nutrition, right? And you just have to stick to a program. And so you think you can dance. I had only studied ballroom dance. I hadn't trained in hip hop or jazz or ballet or anything. I had maybe taken a jazz class for 2 weeks when I was about 14, and just played around with breakdancing like for fun. But I hadn't been trained in those genres. But when you get on So You Think You Can Dance, you have to be an expert at everything. So people say, well, how did you make it so far? How did you make it to the very last episode? And I'm very honest, I said, I just was up all night in our little apartment practicing the moves until like 3, 4, sometimes 5 in the morning. I just practiced and practiced and practiced. That was the only way. I knew that I had to just make it happen, right? I just had to and that was the way that I got there, where I was behind on with other dancers who had studied those genres. So go to work, make it happen. I'm sure you've all heard the stories of Thomas Edison saying he tried thousands of times, right, to make the carbonized cotton head filament work. But he doesn't say he failed thousands of times. He said, I succeeded thousands of times at figuring out, at learning how to not make it work. Does that make sense? So he succeeded every time. All right, that doesn't work, so what's the next one? Oh, that doesn't work, so let's do the next one. And he just kept trying and trying until he made it work. You're up.
Okay. This is one of my favorite quotes. If you think you can or think you can't, you are right. And for myself, briefly, dance I was told something that I would never do again. At 13, I became very, very ill and fought through a life-threatening illness for 4.5 years, and then had a back injury that took me out another 1.5 years. So for 6 years, I was told I would never dance again, and to just accept that. Not only dance, but live. Past my teenage years, have a life. But of course, dance was the one thing they said if I survived, my body could never endure. So what you think you can or can't do is very, very, very powerful. And perseverance and not giving up. And that was the one thing I refused to accept as a limitation. And often the biggest limitations we place are ones we put on ourselves, right? I'm not smart enough, I'm not as good as that person, I'm not as charismatic, or I'm not as good looking, or I'm not as talented, or I'm not, we have these setbacks that we do all get in life and are certain limitations, but we put caps on what we think we're capable of doing, capable of studying, capable of accomplishing. And really at the end of the day, it is what we think we can or can't do. And what we do think about that is, at the end of the day, will be true. And so for me in my life, everything that I've accomplished was something I was directly told would not be possible. And luckily I'm born stubborn. Poor guy. I win every argument. Plus
He's already stubborn too, I can tell.
Plus I studied political science and we're good at arguing. No, I'm not that bad. I'm kidding. But what I mean is,
I love it about you, by the way.
He can't win any argument.
You know what you want. I like that.
As I say, well, if I wasn't so stubborn, I wouldn't be here. So, poor guy. But what I mean is also that work, that perseverance, that determination to not give up on what I wanted. And I think it's important to see, because obviously our path that we have gone, we've also been blessed with opportunity and luck. And that does come in some place, being in the right place at the right time. Because no doubt when we auditioned for So You Think You Can Dance, it was the most talented people I'd ever been around. And it doesn't mean somebody else couldn't have been in that spot that I took, But there was a series of events. It doesn't take away from all my hard work and my ability, but of course there's certain things that happen in order. But at the same time, also pursuing dance, I was pursuing my passion with my education as well. And if my path had gone that way, I would also have been doing something else that I loved. So it doesn't have to always be one thing, And I often, as we pursue multiple passions, you see where your path might take you in the right way as we pursue. Because if it's educational, I'm always very, very, very big advocate of. And as we pursued our education and made that a priority with our passion in dance, our life just took the path that it was supposed to, as we worked hard, didn't give up, and went after opportunities, right? Because we believed we could. So I think that's a very powerful statement, and to say to yourself truly every day, because we are our biggest critics, right? Every day I'm with school, and if it's a bad test or we're not getting something, it's very easy to just tear ourselves down and give up, and maybe give up on a path we really thought we wanted to go through. So one of my favorite analogies talks about the bumblebee. By all the law of aerodynamics, the bumblebee's body is too bulky for its wings. So it really shouldn't be able to fly, but it doesn't know that, so it flies. And I just think that's a very powerful message. Sometimes you see what little kids are able to do just because they believe they can, and they don't sit there and evaluate all the reasons why they can't. So I would just say that's one of the reason why I've accomplished and been able to go where I have in my life is believing in myself and working hard and persevering and not giving up and not accepting what other limitations are set on what I'm supposed to be able to accomplish. And so think you can, and you'll be right, and you'll get there. Yeah?
So last quote, if you can't tell, we really like quotes. There is no passion to be found playing small in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. That really is one of my favorite quotes. Don't settle for being part of the 87% that hates what they do, right? Keep going, keep pursuing what you're passionate about in life. whether that happens immediately or whether it happens down the road, or the right timing and the right moment, or the right people, the right event that you go to, that you find that, don't stop pursuing your passion. And that's true success. So if you want to check out some of the things we're doing, facebook.com, Power20Fitness, facebook.com, Empowerment, and Instagram and Twitter. Those are 2 fitness things we're working on right now. As we said, fitness is a huge part of our passion, just as much as dance. And thank you so much. It's been awesome to be here. I think maybe we turn it over to a few questions. Yeah? Any questions that you want to ask, that you are burning to just...
Secrets about the show? No, we get asked that.
Tell us the details behind the scenes of So You Think You Dance. We get that all the time. And Dancing with the Stars, right? Is it reality? Is it reality television? They have writers, by the way.
Tell them about the costs, because sometimes they think you're getting paid all this money, and tell them about what it's really like. You're paying for a studio to go practice and all those fun things, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the show, one of the most shocking things when we got there is they actually don't provide, well, things have changed since we've been on. They're better now, but they actually
They get more time.
They get more time.
rehearse.
We had 5 hours total with the choreographer. That's it.
master of the routine,
That
yeah.
includes with the camera in there. That includes stage blocking. So you really have hardly any time. The rest of it is up to you. And that's what I mean. When we practiced in our kitchens, we practiced outside in the cement patios at our apartment complex. They did not provide studio space, so out of our own pocket, we had to get a cab and go rent studio space in LA. And that's at $40 to $50, depending on the studio, an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And about a $40 cab ride,
Yeah,
too.
because they won't let you have cars when you're there. So it was they took care of us very well, and the greatest thing is you could just fill out whatever groceries you wanted and they magically appeared. So I really missed that when I went home. They fed us well I was surprised when it came to like why we were there. They didn't provide. It really came down to who wanted it, because it wasn't convenient. And we were so tired and so exhausted at the end of rehearsal days, because you also have all the group routines and the fittings and the camera interviews, and your day gets taken up really quickly. And then it's the end of the night, and it's up to you if you want to go rent and rehearsal space out of your own pocket, own expense. And, I remember out in the cement, not being able to do everything full out because you can't be doing lifts and tricks. And sometimes the first time you were able to do that was on stage because the studios weren't big enough. And there's a lot more behind it than they show. But it really did. Those who stayed, of course, part of it is the popularity and who America likes, and that's important. But it's who really worked hard and put in the extra time and effort that you don't see and wasn't rewarded, right? Until it came to that time when you were on stage and you saw the difference between those people who had put in that extra time. But that was shocking for me to realize. I'm like, isn't this a dance show? Shouldn't we have like studios open to us? But
Now they get, I think, 4 hours the first day with the choreographer,
Yeah.
and 3 hours the next day with the choreographer.
They get it
and
more.
Then like another, yeah. We tell it, we go back because we've been back to help choreograph and perform as All-Star, and we tell it.
How lucky they
Yeah,
are.
you're there. You're spoiled. You're spoiled. Yeah.
yeah. Anything else?
Any questions?
Good.
Well, thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure to be here with you guys. Look forward to chatting with any of you after. Yeah, just come up to us, and we're excited to meet you.